let's talk about what you're learning from your friends and contacts there in Ukraine.
President Zelensky spoke at the UN today.
Right.
And so that was such a big event.
That's a good point. Its timing on this was perfect.
And let me show you why he has such passion. 32 years ago, about 3 weeks ago, Ukraine celebrated their 32nd Independence Day.
Mm-hmm.
But to this day, Russia and the people of Russia feel like Ukrainians are second and third class citizens. And that's been going on over and over and over again. And during my time period there, the Orange Revolution in Ukraine in 2008, the revolution in 2014 in which Putin came in and took Crimea, in which we have started many churches in the Crimea area, took over Lugansk and Donetsk in the Donbass region that we started many churches in and a part of, and just took those areas. Kherson, that's been in the war, that we have churches in. So all these different areas. And if one looks at how does Putin go about doing that, it's the children,
Mm-hmm.
the bombing of schools, more than 150 schools. I don't know the number of universities, but
Really?
many, many universities. That's according to the Kyiv Post, that figure, 150 schools
Wow.
have been bombed and destroyed by Russia.
So in other words, they're intentionally targeting the innocents.
That's certainly the way Ukrainians look
Well,
at things,
hey,
and the way the world needs to look at everything.
I don't quite see how I'll use the term fifth grader is a threat to the Russian army. Okay?
Remember the theater in Mariupol,
Right.
and the hundreds of children that were killed in that bomb. And then second, it's the women with the rapes and things of that nature that
right.
has gone on. Third, the grain, the food supply.
Mm-hmm.
And what have they done? They've destroyed farms. They've flooded the farms. They've stopped they started the embargo, so the
Again.
grain's not allowed to leave. And then the fourth area is the energy area.
Mm-hmm.
Remember last winter how they attacked the energy and everybody was cold and freezing.
And we're coming up to winter again.
Winter again. And so they were not fighting as wars are usually fought. They were fought against the
We're 5 months away from the second anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's been a long, arduous year and a half. What is the feeling among the Ukrainian citizenry?
They so believe in Zelensky, and they so believe in today. And so it's going to be important to see what the world thinks of, what the UN thinks of, when you have the Russian leader, not Putin, but Lavrov, that's speaking also today at the UN Security Council, and to see what their results are. But the Ukrainians are depending on the events of the UN Council this weekend.
And by the way, obviously you're not alone. There are other organizations, other people such as yourself, raising money for these efforts. And again, we're raising money. We're talking about this for the non-combatants. I can't stress that enough.
Correct.
To the orphans, the infirm, the elderly, those that are left behind, the children, the schools, things of this nature. This is an important issue. And I think in your efforts, and you're talking to churches, and you're sending, churches and other organizations, and you have contributed, and by the way, we won't get the numbers, but there's been significant amount of contributions to all of you who have been so generous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much.
What impact is this having on those who are left behind? The constant reminder, the fact that they're seeing this aid coming in the form of food, medicine, facilities, generators, fuel, things of this. What is the impact of this continued support from the civilian community in the United States? In
the United States?
In other words, the fact that people are out of their heart giving money, it's not coming from the federal budget, it's coming from individuals. How does that resonate with the Ukrainians.
And we have a great tracking system because we announce to our partners over there when the money's being sent,
Right.
and they receive it within 30 minutes or an hour, and they send pictures and videos and
Right.
things back on what's going on. And so the people there send thank you letters all the time.
So I'm what I'm asking is the civilian support that's coming
Here.
from the states is vital to the morale as well as
That's
the
right.
physical condition.
And they know they're making a difference because of
Okay.
the thank you letters that are coming back, of seeing the pictures of what we're doing over there,
Okay.
and the needs that are being met that nobody else is really doing, at least in the areas that we're in. Have we shifted? Yes. There's some places that's getting money from other organizations
right.
now. So we've shifted our monies out of those areas and putting them in additional areas, always trying to find those locations that need the money the most
Okay.
and the support the most.
And you're doing this through a variety of organizations, doing primarily through churches, right?
Primarily through churches, but
Okay.
those church members and pastors will know the other organizations in those towns and villages that need the support.
All right. I'm asking about the morale of the populace in Ukraine now, because you have friends in Russia, and we were talking about that earlier today. You have people that are living in Russian territories of Ukraine.
So I shared with Lockwood earlier today, and I want to be really broad on this because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But the Donbass area, which is the Donetsk region and the Lugansk region,
This is Western Ukraine.
Eastern
Eastern
Ukraine,
Ukraine. I'm sorry.
Ukraine,
Eastern, yeah.
right there along the border. We've started churches in those areas. I probably spent with trips back and forth, 2 years maybe in those areas. So truly, I know those areas very well and know the people very well. And so they were all a part of the Soviet Union. And back in those days, before 91, back in those days, it didn't matter if you lived in Ukraine or Russia. I mean, it was the Soviet Union.
Right.
Everything was Soviet Union,
Right.
and people thought of the Soviet Union. But in 91, it became Ukraine. And so there's some people in those areas that very, very much support Russia. And I've got pictures from 2005, 2010 of them holding up Stalin and
Right.
everything.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I'm not, I want to tell the whole story. I mean, there's people that love Russia, but there's many others that's been Ukrainians for 30 years now, 32 years now, that think of themselves as Ukrainian.
Okay. But those Russians, when they're, pardon me, there are some who are dissatisfied
That's right.
and uncomfortable with what is being done by Russia.
That's right. And so those folks that's lived for 32 years under Ukrainian territory love Ukraine, love the flag of Ukraine, love what Ukraine stands for. And so I spoke to a very, very dear friend that I really hadn't spoke to recently. And as Lockwood said, I've got many good friends that live throughout Russia, just like with Ukraine. But this particular one lives in that Donbass area. And he was sharing the story of the families in the Donbass area in which the men were given guns back when the war first started and told, without any training or anything, told to go into Ukraine and kill brothers and sisters that lived in Ukraine because they lived in the Donbass area. They were the closest ones to go in. And so families were split. I mean, kind of like the war between the states, the Civil War here.
Right.
I mean, families against families and those types of issues. And that continues to go on in that area and region. So this dear friend who's got a very important, not military job, not government job, but other job in that area, and who's also a pastor of one of our churches there, I mean, shares the hurt, the heartache of people going through every day of friends and family in Ukraine fighting friends and family in Russia, and they're right there in the middle of it. And they have not been bombed. That's this Donetsk or Lugansk has not been bombed itself, but the surrounding areas have been. And so the struggles, the issues of everybody just wanting peace. I mean, the
I know,
normal
I know,
person
I know.
just wanting peace.
Well, All right, before we wrap this up, and again, I want to remind folks, we're talking about assisting the civilian population in Ukraine. I can't stress that enough.
Mm-hmm.
So any gift given to and Ukraine through First Methodist Church in Morehead City, make the check out to First Methodist Church in the memo line, put Ukraine, send that check to 900 Arundel Street, Morehead City, North Carolina, 28557. And this money, 100% of it, goes to churches and to organizations that have been approved by the Methodist Church and Pastor Patrick Whaley, who knows these folks, to aid, again, the infirm, the elderly, the very young, the orphans, those that are left behind. All right, what's happening in Russia? You've got friends in Russia. Are they getting frustrated by this? A year and a half, high casualty rate. What's happening? Is there any ability? Is there any chance that we really could see peace and a suitable conclusion to the war?
I wish I could say yes to that. The people in Russia are frustrated. The economy is
Beginning to feel it, yes.
very much so. On the billboards, there's signs every place recruiting soldiers to
Right.
come and be a part of that. Everybody knows at least one person, and most everybody knows many, many, many people that have died in the war. They certainly know and feel the effects of it. But the media is so strong there. The love of the motherland, Russia, don't hear me say the love of Putin,
Right.
but the love of the motherland is so strong there that whatever the government says has got to be right. And so they still don't allow protest or anything of that nature. And so it's kind of a mixed bag. Again, there's a daughter that lives here that her mother's a
Is that-
pastor
yeah.
there, and they don't talk to each other
Wow.
any longer because of that strain is so difficult.
Wow. This is the further conversations coming up on this one in the future on this one, Patrick. Again, Pastor Patrick Whaley with First Methodist Church, 900 Arundel Street, Morehead City, 28557. I'm looking forward to conversations about that, the division that this is causing. Stay tuned for more here on Viewpoints, and thank you for your continued effort, Pastor.